Hey, psst, buddy. Come closer. Yeah, hey. Region struggling. Viewership depressed. Riot, the commish. They don't look out for the little guy like you and me. Look, I got some stuff that can maybe help you out. How's this look? Now, hey, no. Wait, like, you're a discerning gentleman. I got some good shit right here. You know what you want. Yeah. What do you think about that? Let's just say it fell off a truck. You got the production budget for something like this? All right, we'll figure something out.
For a few years now, there's been a pretty big push to move the LCS towards best of threes, but it really feels like since the beginning of this year, it's been pretty much doubled down on. I've seen players talking about it, I have seen personalities talking about it, and even my own audience, when I polled them, has said that they would prefer best of threes as well. And I'm really worried that Riot is going to take this opinion and run with it, because this is what Mark said when I asked him about it at the start of the year.
We are very fan focused this year. I think it's one of the internal things that we're saying is like fan first. With regards to format, it's open to evaluation. We see that fans are pushing for best of three, and a number of people are. I think, as we've talked about in the past, you always have your viewership concerns. It's worth noting that back then, two things were different than maybe now, which is one, there was the dual stream setup that people always love to harp on, as well as the fact that Riot Games at that time had gone from Riot Games, the main Twitch channel, to LCS1, LCS2. They like kind of fractured their viewership platform at that time. And so to be fair to the people who want best of three, both from a competitive angle, it's something we can talk about, and then also from a viewership angle, there were some other confounding factors at that time that make it worthwhile to explore and talk about.
Now, as he mentioned in the video, we've actually done best of three before. In 2016 and 2017, Riot moved the LCS to best of three, and the challenge for them was you are potentially tripling the amount of games that you need to play when you use this format. So the solution for them was to have Saturdays and Sundays have double streams. So there were 2 Twitch streams that you could watch, or YouTube or whatever, both these games on, where you'd have a match going on one and then you have a match going on the other, but that still was not enough to encompass all of the games that needed to be played in this format, so they opened up Friday to be an additional day. So we actually had 3 days of matches, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with Saturday and Sunday having 2 matches at the same time, and the results of this were pretty disastrous. In fact, here's Jat explaining what happened.
A year and a half ago in the North American LCS, I was on board to going to best of threes, right? Everyone was talking about how you can never translate best of one to series play.
NA will win worlds if we just
integrity.
Go to best of threes.
And then all of a sudden, we're now saying we're going back to best of ones. This is actually something I'm behind. I like best of ones more, but I wanted to get your just quick take on exactly why we're going back to best of one.
When we moved to best of threes, we had certain expectations, right? I think ourselves, the teams, the pros, the community, everyone who was calling for it had expectations. It was more competitive. NA teams would get better on the international stage, better prepped, all the things you said. It would be more hype to watch. We think that, there are more games of TSM. Oh my God, like I can watch more TSM. That's fantastic. We actually alienated a significant group of fans whose viewership patterns just completely clash with the idea of a best of three. So fans will tune in, for maybe half an hour, 90 minutes. And what we've seen through surveys, and like we've had now three splits of this, right? We have a set number of minutes to watch, and they'll just tune in.
We assume that fans would either tune in to watch the whole match,
Yep.
or they would tune in for the last game, right? Or game 2 and game 3, right?
And we were wrong.
We were wrong on that.
I just was on a soapbox about how important it is to be a fan-focused league. When you make a change like this and you don't see NA getting more competitive, and you don't see more people tuning in for those hype BO3s, but rather you see a group of fans who are telling us effectively like, hey, we can't watch this anymore. We want to, but we can't. So we're watching less of it. That's actually going to be long-term harmful for the league. It was actually a pretty easy decision, honestly.
Right.
When you have the data, when you have the fan sentiment, it's like, wow, actually BO1s is just a more healthy format for the regular season if you care about the fan experience, which at the end of the day, we care about it. We talk to the Players Association, they care about it. We talk to owners, they care about it. And so this was actually somewhat less controversial than we might imagine.
Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, as they say, and apparently we are forgetting just 6 years ago. What Riot is being cagey about and not really addressing is how bad viewership plummeted during this time. I mean, when we talk about the glory days of LCS viewership, it was pretty much that entire time before best of threes were entered. But wait, Travis, the best of three crowd yells back at me, is because there were 2 streams, and that's actually what ended up hurting everything the most. And I'm not convinced that hiding Shopify and Immortals on a different stream would not be better for the LCS. I think there's a world where being able to put some of that stuff elsewhere would actually increase sentiment. But I can understand the idea that, hey, it does make it harder to follow the whole storylines whenever 2 things are happening at once. All right, you want to do best of threes again, but you don't want it to be 2 streams. Now remember, when we first did this, we had to use 3 days to encompass all of this, right? Friday had just 1 stream, but the other 2 days had 2 streams, which means if we were to do it again, we would need 5 days. Probably actually wouldn't need 5 days because we've lost 2 teams, 20% of the league. So let's make it 4 days. So now we're looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to be able to keep the same format except make all the matches best of 3. And what's very funny about this is that we just went through a whole year of everyone talking about how bad viewership would be to have games on the weekdays. The idea is weekdays bad, don't put games on the weekdays. So let's just ignore that for a second and decide that we are going to put things on the weekdays. Now we're in a situation where Riot has to turn their studio on 4 times a week instead of 2 times a week. You are essentially doubling the production budget for the LCS. And I don't know if you all remember, but we just had, 11% of the company laid off, including a ton of people in the LCS and across esports elsewhere. And then we also had them announce that there's going to be no Spring Finals Roadshow. They are clearly trying to cut back costs a lot. And so I don't see them ever deciding that, yeah, we're going to double the cost of producing the LCS by adding twice as many days to the LCS broadcast schedule. Again, I'm not even sure that fans want 4 days of the LCS given what viewership looks like, but again, let's table that. But let's just focus on the fact that it seems really unlikely that Riot would double the cost of producing LCS regular season splits. This leads me to why I think the whole best of 3 conversation is a scam. Because people don't really know what they are asking for in these moments. We're not going to get 4 days, we're going to get 2. And if you're going to 2 and you refuse to do 2 streams, then you have to cut the amount of matches that you're playing in half. That is how math works. Which means that instead of every team playing each other twice in a split, they're going to only play each other once. I think a lot of people won't like that because teams tend to change strength over the course of the split. But maybe you're fine with that. Here's the thing. You are trying to go to best of 3s because you want teams to play more and to get more games in. The problem is in this situation is that you're probably still only going to get 2 games a week, and they will be against 1 team instead of 2. The only world in which you get to play more games is if your team screws up and loses. Maybe that's still fine with you. Maybe you're like, hey, at least it's more games and I can enjoy this. And best of 3s are maybe more entertaining to you, but are they more entertaining than getting to see your team play more than once a week? Because that's probably what will happen. Your team will only play on Saturday or Sunday in this situation, and I don't think that's going to help viewership because you'll probably have entire days that people just decide to skip. Ultimately, what ends up happening is you get a few more games a split at the cost of increased diversity of opponents every week, at the cost of getting to see your team play more than once, and at the cost of, I think, viewership along the way, because I still am not convinced that best of 3s are better for viewership, at least in the West. I don't think this is a better thing for everybody. I don't think the players, the teams, and folks will if they can consider what this would cost them. That's kind of why I am against the best of 3 stuff. I don't think that people really consider how this would have to be played out in order for it to work. And I don't think that people will be happy if Riot ends up deciding to do this, which I think there's a good chance that they will do this because so many people are pushing them towards it. Anyway, this video doesn't have a sponsor. So speaking of scams, I would love to just mention that if you would like to support the content, because I'm scamming myself out of money by making it, since it doesn't have a sponsor, you can hit the link tree below in the description of this YouTube video and find ways to support me, including ways that don't even require spending any money. Hey.
Sorry about that best of 3 shit. Not the best source, but look, I got something to make it up to you. On the house. Yeah, not too bad, huh?